February 15th, for Jackson. It's comforting for us to think that if we are rationally in control of a situation between sheets and each other, we will believe anything anyone says while staring at their straight teeth. However, this is not the case, for our language is one of subtext. Everyone communicates in subtext, and every time something gets crossed between what is subtext, read, versus that which is invoked, said, that's when we flip shit and get into arguments. It's impossible to say in this language that you are close to someone and not know how they feel or ache at or for something, regardless of whether or not it's you. Yet, if you say I'm wrong and it's possible, then there is possibly something quite different about you, and you are probably matched with someone great for you, and good luck with your condo, dog, parking permit, whatever. But I will refrain from picking up the phone and bothering someone at some weird hour of the night. And if you're in this situation also, it is because perhaps you know how things are, and it is out of respect that you don't want to impose your sloppy reality onto a otherwise seemingly neatly ordered one. No one likes tornadoes. But if you are fortunate enough to be in a situation in which someone happens to like tornadoes and Oz very much, then you are very likely bound for a lovely Valentine's Day. It angers me that stores are not closed on Valentine's Day for a slew of reasons that are all tied up on one thing. If Valentine's Day was truly set aside as a day to celebrate loves and halves instead of substitutions and lacks, we would have every cause to treat Valentine's Day much better than how we do. Our materialism is happy to point out to those that have no reason to spend money. That's what we generally tend to mean when we're talking about a Hallmark holiday. Valentine's Day, in a consumer sense, splits up the population more than any other on haves and have-nots. But it just so happens that the possession you are honoring on Valentine's Day is a person. And there is, for the majority, one type of loving relationship, and even with only one type of relationship, within this there are only very few special alchemical relationships that make this big day worth puffing your chest full of air for. And you can't buy an entire person, just parts of them, for the most parts. So if you do not possess a person in love and soul and heart, you are told you have no reason to spend money so that you can give someone something special. This is why generous people hate Valentine's Day. If you were to imagine a generous person with no meat vessel in which to pour their fluids or stuff with chocolate, you can imagine how crazy they must go, because the Day of Love honors things that you can't just give to just anyone or everyone. On Valentine's Day, you celebrate who you have to yourself. Congratulations. It's a day to celebrate the human present you give presents to for yourself and to the other person, to either weaken or strengthen your will to become a better person, whatever that means to you. Culturally, here, that is the sharing and companionship on the most basic level. Now, even on the day we celebrate and honor love, we shame an entire other section of our collected psyches. And that's no fun. Valentine's Day is an abusive holiday in the stereotypical imagination. We stress rubbers on this day. We stress the importance of holding a warm body when it is typically cold outside. We stress looking fresh and new and vibrant, that there is still someone in there worth knowing. We stress trying new things outside of our general spheres of aesthetic sensibility and taste. We want to taste and be sensuous on this day. And if we can't go around licking bricks and cuddling mailboxes with the same satisfaction we would with our lovers, there's a real need to stress rubbers and taste on this day. We wouldn't be able to differentiate on this day what it feels like to be alive from what it feels like to be loved. Arguably, we don't anyway, which is why people are so obsessed with loving someone and knowing what it feels like to be loved when everyone else also celebrates this. And it is soul crushing. One day out of the year for a lot of people who have the privilege of considering that their souls can be crushed by not being with someone for 24 hours out of however many rent minutes there are in a year. And then there's me. My birthday is the day after Valentine's Day. At least the kids born near Christmas only need to worry about their ration of presents and their loyalty to commercials, robots, and ham, not consider the truest meaning of their existence in this culture in several perspectives within 48 hours. I am in an abusive relationship with this culture. That's really hard to write a poem about, because I know in the end, I end up losing by way of not being able to trick what encompasses me from more than a bird's eye view. Yes, tricky fucking culture and just stardust. These 2 days represent more to me than what they do for most people because they're stuck together, which is either a day of giddiness or slouching. Valentine's Day comes around each year and sits on a stoop with me until I ask it to go away and become my birthday. So, where's your squeeze? God, Valentine, I would love to have someone I liked to squeeze if there were 36 hours in a day, but there are not, so I have no current squeeze. Nor have I been squeezing much of anything except for the acrid and healing balm of apathy and crippling analysis for a long enough while now. I try to give it to people only when it turns sweet, but apparently my taste buds lean towards favor the savor, so I'm not one to be giving much of anything if no one can handle it. And he just jitters his dumb wings, and I hope they're made of wax. Did you know you don't have to go to Las Vegas to know exactly what it's like? Just take a layover from Los Angeles and spend about 7 minutes in the airports there. You'll know what Vegas is all about. It's just consecutive piles of rock sand with zombies sitting at machines that make a lot of noises. I never noticed that people can truly drool with no fluid coming out of their mouths. I also felt delightfully peevish with a fat man before I had to observe you, Valentine. In the airport in Vegas, I couldn't quite tell if the pyramid in the center of the city was a pyramid or just another pile of sand. If God was ever 6 years old and had a habit of exposing himself, he would be playing in the sandbox that is Las Vegas. Incorporate a company there, what I hear. In the airport, I was hungry but didn't want anything. There's a cheesesteak place and I couldn't figure out what it was boasting about itself, but I got french fries to take on the plane with me. I wasn't in the mood of being stuck between people with nothing to do, so I bought french fries. Earlier in the day, I dry heaved on an Asian man and spilled boiling hot coffee on him while trundling in a severe bout of turbulence. A woman kept screaming and everyone was shouting. They were in pandemonium because they had no control of the air. I kept laughing even though my hands were shaking and wished I had a book that wasn't the Torah. Even in the airport, sitting inside of it like a fat sack full of bursting pigeons that used to be doves, I saw a rainbow. There was a real rainbow shining over Las Vegas today, world. And I shouted because it made me excited. But people looked at me lazily, went back to the slot machines until someone, mid-fluidless drool, pointed out with a cracked finger that there was a rainbow. Then people took out their cameras and smiled like they had never seen a rainbow before. Luckily, by then, the rainbow had tended toward its own fading. So, to prepare for this flight, I had french fries sitting at the bottom of a paper bag. Luckily, I found a seat between a sleeping man and an enormous man. The enormous man wasn't sleeping, just smelling. I waited until the stewardess handed out the appropriate beverages and Ritz crackers and then dug into my french fries. And the fat man was very frustrated. You could tell the only thing he wanted in the universe was french fries, but he couldn't have them because I was eating them. Ha! One over on him. Then good riddance. I hoped he enjoyed the crackers and even considered sharing with him my french fries, but thought the better of it because I had somehow also acquired mayonnaise for them and slathered them rich with the eggy vinegar juice of 1,000 petroleum packets. That's how I like my french fries, fat man. And you don't have french fries. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't even know you. But right now, I'm not paying attention to Valentine. I don't even know how he became the way he is, considering whatever Christian myth distorted him for whatever purpose of martyrdom. I know there's no real need to feel blue on Valentine's Day, because Valentine just kind of sucked, as a person probably, like most seem to at first. During my life as a leeching and stationary sponge, I've paused from somewhere that he was a monk that wrote love poems and then got his head cut off, or was stabbed, or burned, or humiliated, before he was mutilated in front of an audience for something he believed in, other than love or God, but I could be wrong. Then there was some curly hair in a tower somewhere, apparently weeping about him, waiting for his imagery of hearts and swords and fire, and come vicariously, come, splish! And then the Germans wrote down and climbed up Rapunzel's hair, and now we buy cards for people. Everything makes sense. You know, I can shoot someone for you if you want. I think of guns and try to literally understand the cherubic GMO sitting there with an arrow pouch from the playthings section of Target. It isn't even real leather. How do I know if it's a real arrow? I won't be touching them. They gleam like lies that wither in a vase that we just accept when we put their memories in landfills not far from where we go to sleep when we manage to. Infatuation is so isolating, Valentine. It's like the housemate of the word engorged. They like to have cake on the porch and tell each other when the sun looks like from where they're sitting. They can't move because infatuation is drunk, and engorged can't stop putting things in her mouth. Infatuation pays visits to middle-aged men who are losing their ability to maintain erections and a reason to wake up. Infatuation also likes to chase around the edge of a woman's skirt where her ass has the ability to loaf out if she's not aware that it might all of the time. She might wonder why she got the skirt, but infatuation is always lurking where she can't see it and resigns to the fact that skirts will always be in vogue for that very reason. She likes to wear them anyway, anyhow. Forget infatuation and all the men who drool without spit at the slot machine in the Vegas of fuck. Get lucky. Engorged strikes wittily at two people who store up on sex and only feel bad about destroying each other when they want to fuck their bellies full of immobility again, one forgetting and one ignoring that the desert of love cannot be traversed by a lone camel purposefully looking for a mirage to drink at. So by the virtue of ignorance, engorged is usually only used in reference to tick, who suck up all the blood of life force. This makes me want to buy a packet of cigarettes for a gaggle of unschooled children and tell them that the earlier they start, the more breath they'll save on trying to figure it out with words. It's better to cough as long as there's water to become engorged on, instead of ruining an entirely well-meaning conversation infatuated with the semantics of subtext. Then I would like to make them a pot of coffee and squeeze from the udder of a teat cow the warm chunky milk of grass and earth that waves and goes nowhere but into a belly and into their coffee. As for the people that aren't stuck on the sine wave of engorged and infatuated, there is always the day after Valentine's Day, which is the perfect antithetical holiday to Valentine's Day. Incidentally, the man who was sleeping next to me on the airplane was a hangover. He didn't need a name or some sort of facade. He was just a puddle of booze that was left over from where his last thought was. He was wearing khaki pants and a pastel flannel shirt and insisted on having wheat thins instead of Ritz crackers. Because the stewardess happened to be so accustomed to her job, she couldn't understand me when I said that he wanted wheat thins. She gave me the wheat thins with a pretty smile. When I handed Hangover the wheat thins, she looked confused and gave me another bag. Meanwhile, Hangover now had Ritz crackers and wheat thins, and I just had wheat thins, coffee, and Fat Man to think of stealing from. Fat Man wouldn't be sleeping any time soon. Hangover would scarf his wheat thins, place his hand conveniently over the crackers, and ruminate in the molasses and sugar cane of the money he lost while chasing queens and engorging himself in the rum jungle. Hangover is everyone the day after Valentine's Day, so at least we all share something in that way. The problem with holidays is that you hype them all up, prepare, go through with it without thinking as much as you can, and the next day end up wondering what any of it meant. Dinners are like this also. This could be why so many people go out to dinner for Valentine's Day. It's scratching your head and realizing you have dandruff and you are wearing a conspicuously black shirt, and your scalp happens to be raining in sheets. There's an avalanche of white on your shoulders that someone else can see. So look down at your plate and instead wonder why there happens to be mealy tomatoes on your plate in mid-February. Everything makes sense. However, there are those with cushy, lusty sensibilities who can very evenly wipe their mouth clean of tomato and get rid of the dandruff on their shoulder in one fell swoop. Maybe you can love someone like this. They generally tend to smell nice as well because they're both vain and courteous. There are also those who will talk smoothly to you with a drab of tomato on the corner of their mouth and their dandruff falling into your wine. They will try to be sensual about taking off your stockings. Personally, I tend to think of someone with tomato on their mouth as someone with a small poop stuck on them somewhere on their bodies. Then I'm grossed out and can't talk. Then it's my birthday and I'm depressed. This year, I'm in the spirit to celebrate. And instead of celebrating not being able to find love or make connections and drink my last half-full bottle of liquor into another less cinematic year of comes and gones, I would instead prefer to take solace in the fact that no one will ever know someone else fully in the way that we wish that we could understand that word know, and we can continue on in our cacophonous, warbling, transparent daycare studio of nap time, shits on the carpet, blocks to build with, bathrooms to diddle ourselves in, reasons to wait in line, lunchtime, bakery deliveries, and how many universes you can make pass in the blink of an eye and not be able to fully share it any time, in full. But we can dream, and a dream with someone in it, notwithstanding that they are merely fragments of ourselves. And mere is no mere word. Whether we are awake or asleep, when done right, can make the process of experiencing equally more and less absurd. And hugs are nice.